All right, let's talk about the syllabus for Java 2. Now, if you're watching this, you will either be in my class, most likely, or you just stumbled across it somehow. I don't know. But this is basically what to expect in Java 2. Now, obviously, to be in Java 2, you will have had to have done Java 1. Now, first warning I'm going to give out is in Java 2, it's going to be significantly harder than Java 1. I fully expect that you have gone through Java 1 fully, because we're going to pick up right where Java 1 left off. Now, if you, let's say, got a C in Java 1, historically speaking, if you got a C in Java 1, your understanding is probably not good enough to make it through Java 2 unless you really buckle down. Go back over those fundamental things you need to go over. Because historically, people who get a C in Java 1, which is the minimum pass, uh, are not going to be good enough because Java 2 is just significantly harder. So keep that in mind. If you got a C, then you probably need to go back over your Java 1 stuff, at least until you feel a lot more comfortable with it. Because Java 2 builds on all of that. And if your fundamental building blocks are shoddy, you're not going to be able to build anything on top of it. Now, with that out of the way, let's talk about what we're going to get into for this course. Now, in Java 1, we talked about, conditional statements, we talked about loops, we talked a little bit about methods. Java 2 will pick up with methods again and arrays. We'll talk about searching through set arrays and objects and things of that nature. So you'll get kind of a barrage of different things that we're going to go through. And of course, we'll talk about as much as we can fit into whatever little time we have. Now, methods of instruction, for those of you who have had me for Java 1, it's pretty much the same. There's a good bit of lecture. And by lecture, I mean we're basically going to make a lot of programs. I'm a firm believer of if you want to learn how to do something, you need to be doing it, not just watching a video on somebody else doing it. So if there are lectures, and there'll be lectures if you're taking me physically in class, if you're just online, then there'll be lectures online, but they'll be basically the same thing I do in class. What you're going to want to do is, as you're watching the lecture, have NetBeans or Eclipse or whatever you're using open, and build the program along with me. Once the video is done, the lecture is done, go back in and play with the program a bit. Change a couple of things. Try to make it do this or try to make it do that. The only way you're going to learn is to just, use it. Play with it some more. If you just watch the lecture and don't put any programs to the computer, or just put the put the programs to the computer, but then just don't think about it for the rest of the week, you're going to start having problems. The more you can practice, the better off you're going to be in anything, especially programming. Now, we'll also have programming assignments. Now, those assignments typically will be set up kind of the same way. You'll have a 10-point project, a 20, and a 30. The 10-point project is effectively just, well, here's what we're doing at this particular time in this particular chapter. Here's a short little project that probably will take you 10 minutes. The 20-point project will be a little more substantial. It'll have what we're doing right now, along with a couple of other bits and pieces from other stuff we've covered. Maybe some user input, a little bit of output, of course, will be involved in every program. A few other little bits and pieces. The 30-point project will be everything we've covered the entire semester. So it'll have everything. So that 30-point project will actually get bigger and bigger and bigger as we go through the class. Now, of course, you'll have the same amount of time to finish it, but hopefully by later in the semester, your skills will have improved enough where that's not really going to be a big issue. Now, once we finish that 30-point project, we will have a test. So you pretty much can always guess that it's going to go 10, 20, 30, and then the next week will be a test. Every single chapter or section will follow that pattern. 10, 20, 30, test. Just like that. And that test will be over whatever we're covering that chapter. Now there is a book. It's the same book that was used in Java 1. You don't have it already. It's still a particularly good book to use. I'm not going to read it from it page by page, but I will refer to things, and we're basically going to kind of follow it. So you can actually use it for other examples, which are very useful for practice. There's a lot of little assignments and projects in the back that you can practice and get better with. I'll also include some on Canvas, but it's very useful to have something to flip through. How did I do this? And they have it written there in the book. Now you'll probably want a flash drive, something along the lines of that, to save all your assignments. You can save it on our network drive called the H drive, but honestly, if you're going to be going back and forth between your house and laptop and school, it's just easier to have a flash drive, I think. Grading scale. This is your basic grading scale. 90, up is an A, 80, B, 70, C, 60, D, anything below that's an F. Now, of course, you need a C to basically take any classes after this, if there's anything that requires it. You need a C in Java 1 to even be in this class. So now attendance policy, depending on how we're doing the class, if you're meeting 3 days a week, which is not typically how I teach the class, but you would be allowed to miss 6 days basically. If we're meeting twice a week, then you get 4 absences. If you're meeting once a week for like a night class, then it's 2 absences. Basically, no matter how you slice it, you miss 2 weeks of class. That's the max. Anything but beyond that gets you cut from the class. Now, currently, we're doing this hybrid style, and basically how that's going to work is, so if you're in this class hybrid-wise, we'll meet, let's say, Monday, Tuesday, whatever day it happens to be, once a week. And that'll be 1 absence. And currently the way they have it set up is there are 3 absences a week. 1 will be the physical meeting, and the other 2 will be either a project or assignment, or could also be lectures. So it'll be one of those, and usually I'll explain what that is at the beginning of the week. I'll be like, all right, here's what I'm counting for absences. You do this assignment, you watch these lectures. Those are your 2 absences. The assignment being 1, you got to turn something in. The lectures, watching those lectures or leaving a comment on those lectures being another. And that'll be 3 absences a week. You missed any of those and you get an absence. Now, the phrase, oh, I forgot, is not going to be an acceptable answer to you not doing something, because you're just going to get an absence or a 0 or whatever it is. Make a note in your phone calendar that you need to do this. Whether you're in class physically, whether you're doing it online, whether you're doing it hybrid, however that is, make absolutely sure you've set time outside of class to work on things. Say, every Saturday morning or afternoon or something, I'm going to spend 2 hours practicing. I'm going to spend 2 hours working on this project or something. I'm going to watch these lecture videos, during this time. That sort of thing. You want to set time apart to do something. You don't just want to go to class and then leave and not think about anything else after you leave. Now, plagiarism and cheating. Don't do it. That's the shortest answer I can give you. The longest answer is, particularly in Java 2, it is almost impossible to cheat without me knowing it. Now, it's not impossible, and it's not a challenge, because honestly, this is one of those times where cheating will shoot yourself in the foot. We'll have assignments, and if you do those assignments, all of them, when we get to the test is particularly easy because it's much easier than some of the harder assignments. I'll be asking you questions from all the stuff you've been doing in your assignments. And if you did them personally, then those questions are pretty easy. If you do perfect grades on all your projects and suddenly you get a 30 on the test and can't even do the project, I know to look extra close at those programs. You must not have done them. If you got a perfect grade, you should have aced the exam. And also, of course, if you copy someone else's. Now, I don't mind if you ask for help. Look at the person next to you. How did you do that? And they kind of explain it to you. Or maybe even just briefly show you kind of what they did for this part, that's fine too. The second they touch your keyboard and start typing something, the second you copy and paste, then you're cheating. Now, looking up stuff, that's fine. Every program I have in this class is specifically designed by me. You're probably not going to find a version of it online, at least not of everything I'm asking you to do. And if you do, don't copy and paste that because believe it or not, I can probably Google better than you. I will find it. Now, once you get to the test, if you cheated, you're going to bomb it anyway. So, you're only hurting yourself. And the way programming works is it builds on the previous work that we've done. If you cheated on the previous work, you're not going to be able to do the next chapter. It's just not going to be possible. You need the previous chapter to do the next. You can very quickly snowball out of control if you were to, cheat or kind of limp through using somebody else. So do not do that because maybe I'll miss it. But more than likely, at some point I will find out. Now, if it happens once, it is a 0 for you and whoever helped you. If somebody did, both of you get zeros, non-recoverable zeros. And the usual story I get is, "Oh, I was just helping them. I didn't know they were going to copy my stuff." Don't care. I don't know if that's the truth or not, and I have no way to know. So you're both getting zeros. You should be more careful with your code. Helping someone is fine. Leaving your code unattended with them or mailing it to them opens up the possibility of cheating. You gave that opportunity to them, and they took it. So don't give anyone the opportunity to cheat, and that won't be a problem. Now, if you get caught more than once, you will fail the class and will be booted from the class. And I've had people try to argue with me about cheating. They're like, "I didn't cheat." And I've looked at enough code to know when I'm looking at the same code. Uh, it doesn't matter if you change a couple of little things here, try to move one or two little things around. How a program works, basically the order in which everything is done, the errors that probably exist in there. If they're the same, particularly in Java 2, I will find out. And there's really no way to just say, "Oh, I didn't cheat." So you can argue all you want. If you cheat, you're getting a 0. If you continue, you're failing. So don't do that. It's only going to end up hurting yourself. And of course, later classes that require programming, you're going to have a hard time doing because you cheated through the lower levels. There will be more programming classes you're going to take beyond this probably if you're MIS or especially computer science. If you're computer science, you have to take Java 3. And trust me, if you cheated your way through Java 2, you will get a complete F in Java 3. It's just that much more difficult. It's more fun, I think, but it's more difficult. Now, limit of authority, obviously don't disrupt the class if you're physically in the class. That could be anything from just yelling at people, mouthing off, flipping over the desk, hulking out, that sort of thing. I never had to throw anybody out of the room. Hopefully that never occurs. ADA statement. Well, if by chance you have any disabilities or something, you can talk to the ADA department, which is for students with disabilities. You can get like test taking in a quiet environment, away from everybody. Of course, you'll be supervised by them. No distractions. You can get longer taking test time for people who have certain issues. We got tutoring services. We've got, if you do English papers and stuff like that, we got a writing center. We've got all kinds of help if you need it. And what you need to do is ask if you do need it, whether it's for disabilities or whether it's for something else. Now, I am, of course, Scott Munger, and my office is 220. My office phone number, email, all that stuff is here. Now, if you want to reach me, though, the easiest way is honestly through the email or through the Canvas inbox. As you can see, it's over here. There we go, inbox. Because that'll go directly to my phone, message me, my phone will ding, I will respond pretty quickly. If you call me on the phone, However, this goes to my office, and whenever I get to my office for office hours is when I'll be able to respond to that. But it's just so much easier to do it electronically than it would be to call on the phone. Again, I would recommend a flash drive and a computer outside of class, preferably. You can use a Mac or a PC or whatever you want, but the programming assignments, particularly in Java 2, for those of you who are fairly decent in Java 1, uh, don't expect to finish everything in a single sitting in Java 2. Particularly when we get to the end of the semester, you're going to need the whole week to get that done. So you're not going to sit here for 30 minutes and have it spammed out and then turn it in, regardless of how good you are, usually. Now we'll have about 7 to 10 assignments. I think I've got roughly 9, 10 assignments uh, scheduled and queued. We'll see how that goes. And every 3 assignments, we end up having a test. We'll end up having 3 to 2 tests, somewhere in that range. Most likely, we always end up having enough time for 2. We rarely have enough time left over for that 3rd test. So just keep that in mind. And then, of course, we'll have a final exam, which would be our last test. Now, as far as studying goes, the more work you put into it, the more you get out of it. If all you do is come to class, sit there, and then walk off, and then just throw your computer and book to the side, that's all you're going to get out of it. Things will be much harder. If you take some time and practice a little bit and try to make a couple of things, particularly in Java 2, there's a lot of really cool things you can make. You just have to put your mind to it. I would say Java 2 basically opens up the possibility to make just about anything you want once you get through it. So practice that, and you will get better at it. And that just makes the class overall more interesting and more fun and also easier. And of course, I've already talked about the grading scale and all that. All right, that is the rough idea, rough gist of how things are going to work. I think I've covered everything from absences to various other things. Now, if it's during a normal semester, we'll have a 10, 20, 30 point project. Currently, as I'm doing this video, there's the epidemic going on. So it actually will be more or less, it's very possible we could have more than one assignment. Maybe a 10 and a 20 during a given week, because we're actually a little shortened as of this video. If you're taking this later, when things hopefully return to normal, then that may not be the case. But I'll let everybody know, like physically in class or via messages, how things are going to roll. Now, if you have any questions or anything, there are comments and ways to reply down below. You can also message me directly, and I'll be happy to answer them.